This was an issue to which I've given a great deal of thought because there are many problems in the Affordable Care Act that do need to be fixed. However, it was clear to me that the Graham Cassidy bill was not the answer. It had three major flaws. First, it made sweeping and fundamental changes in the traditional Medicaid program. It would have changed the program in a way that would have put health care at risk for some of our most vulnerable citizens, including disabled children and low-income seniors, by cutting $1 trillion out of the program from the years 2020 to 2036. So that was of great concern to me. Second, the bill clearly opened the door to weakening the protections for people with pre-existing conditions like asthma or cancer or diabetes or arthritis. It would require insurers to offer them insurance and to renew their insurance, but their rates could well be unaffordable. There was no definition in the bill of affordability. That troubled me greatly. In addition, the bill would have allowed states to curtail certain kinds of benefits under the block grant for the affordable health care. So mental health coverage and substance abuse treatment, for example, might well be dropped, and that was of great concern to me as well.
And you said that President Trump called you today. What did he say to you? And second, what was his tone that he used during that conversation?
I had a very cordial discussion with the president today. I'm not going to go into the details of the conversation, but it was completely cordial, as was my conversation with Vice President Pence and with Secretary Price and with many other members of the administration. I appreciated their input. It's just at the end, I can't support this bill. If I could just quickly say my third reason, and I realize I went on long, but my third reason is the impact on coverage, the tens of millions of Americans who would lose coverage, and the impact on premiums. I have no doubt, based on the analysis of insurers and healthcare providers and hospitals who have come together in a coalition, as well as think tanks, that this bill would actually cause premiums in the individual markets to rise in some states.
Were you able to give the president a heads up that you would be not supporting this bill?
I told the president I would take another look at the numbers, but that I was not optimistic that I would be able to get to yes.
We've been anticipating this decision for a while now. Would you say that you ever got close to getting to a yes on this?
Well, the frustration for me is I believe that the process that was underway in the Help Committee under the leadership of Senators Lamar Alexander and Patty Murray was going very well. We had 4 very substantive hearings. We heard from a wide variety of experts, and they were negotiating a bill that would help to stabilize the insurance markets, thus helping to lower premiums and give more choices to consumers. That's a very good first step in mending the flaws in the ACA. One of the problems with the Graham Cassidy bill is it was proposing a sweeping reform in an entitlement program that had been law for more than 50 years without going through the normal process of vetting it and having hearings and debate and input from the other side of the aisle, and that is simply not a good way to legislate.
Many of your colleagues are going to be...
Since you've asked several, I'm going to go to Frank.
President Trump has said that any Republicans that voted against this bill would be responsible for keeping Obamacare, implying that he might actually go after Republicans that would vote against this measure. Are you afraid that President Trump might retaliate for your opposition to this bill?
I have to do what I think is right. I have to do what I think is right for the people of Maine and the people of this country. And that is what has led me to my decision today. I am disappointed that we could not come together in a bipartisan way and draft a comprehensive bill that would have cured the many flaws that exist in the ACA. I'm even open to reforms in the Medicaid program. The Indiana model, for example, that was approved in the last administration provides a very interesting example of a state that's been able to improve outcomes and lower costs. So there are reforms that can be made in the Medicaid program. But to make this kind of sweeping change and deep cut, it just does not make sense to me, particularly without the benefit of going through the normal process.
Senator, do you have members of your party, voters and also members of Congress up here who for years have looked forward to repealing and replacing Obamacare along this in a party line fashion with 51 votes? You're advocating for a different approach. Is it time for maybe closing the book on this use of reconciliation and starting a new chapter in terms of a bipartisan approach? What is your message to those people who still want to do this in a partisan fashion with health care?
Well, I think it would be far better if we turned back to the Help Committee and the Finance Committee and produced a bill that was bipartisan. I think you get better legislation that way. And I think we have to remember, as I've said repeatedly, that this is legislation that directly affects millions of Americans and 1/6 of our economy. We made, not we, the Democratic Party made a huge mistake in pushing through the Affordable Care Act without a single Republican vote. And that's one reason the law has been both flawed and controversial for so many years. It is a mistake for my party to repeat that error.
Thank you, guys. Would you like to see Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell say that the bill is over?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.